In anime gacha games where the characters are the main selling point, it's understandable that a common approach is to create unique and memorable interactions so you can build an attachment to them. One of the games most known for placing a giant emphasis on this type of experience is Girls Frontline 2 Exilium. Now, to be transparent, this video is sponsored as the game's first anniversary is now here, but if you've been keeping up with my recent videos, I've really enjoyed discussing 3D anime styled graphics in depth, so I'm going to take this opportunity to have some closer looks at the characters of this game and talk about what makes the visuals of Girls Frontline 2 different from other anime titles. And like I said earlier, the anniversary is live, meaning you can obtain over 130 pulls and 13,000 collapse pieces. If you've never heard of it before, Girls Frontline 2 is a turn-based tactical strategy game where you control a team of characters, called dolls, maneuvering them around the battlefield to take down enemies. Each doll has unique attacks, abilities, and gameplay roles to experiment with, and terrain mechanics play a substantial role in gaining the upper hand in combat, allowing for a deeper level of strategy. Beginners can claim up to 120 free pulls by logging in and completing missions, so if you've been meaning to try out the game, now is one of the best times to do so. Seeing as there are 2 new character banners for Leva and Lenna, they're probably a good place to start talking about this game's art style. Alright, there it is. Ooh, did you see the water? Oh my god, the impact frames. Nice, that was sick. Alright, here we go. Explosions. Cinema. Dual wielding. Well, how is she spinning like that? What? Oh my god, there's so much stuff falling. Alright, there we go. So the refitting room is Girls Frontline 2's main character menu, and right off the bat, one thing I really like is that they actually let you get a good look at the character models in game. Generally, for my videos, I end up taking the models into a third-party program like Blender so I can have free control over the camera, and while this game doesn't quite give you full freedom, you're able to see a lot more than plenty of other games, which is nice. I mean, even for the background, although this hangar room isn't super busy, it's still refreshing to see since other games tend to display their characters in an empty void. But this, you can see, it is a full environment that goes all the way around. And with stuff like the reflection off of the floor, the light ray spilling in, and the metal surface on the wall being visible in the direct light, there was clearly a lot of work put into this backdrop that most people wouldn't think twice about. Now moving on to the characters finally, GF2 takes a pretty unique approach in its art direction. The shading has quite a bit of depth to it, whereas plenty of 3D anime games go for the flatter cel-shaded look to more closely emulate the traditional 2D anime style. The outlines, which are a staple for anime games, are also relatively thin. Like, even zoomed in, you can just barely make them out. The textures also trend on the more realistic side, as the clothes in particular have quite a bit of variation in how they appear up close rather than just being a flat color. I'm gonna interrupt myself because there's something I really wanted to mention that I forgot about. I'm pretty sure I know exactly the trick that they use to make the texture look so good, and it's something that not every anime gacha game takes advantage of. Cause like, even from far away, you can definitely make out the defined texture on the surface of the clothes. Like on this material and this material, you can make out the lines pretty well. And then for this part around the neck, you can see that it's not completely flat. Like, there's a distinct difference between the parts that are raised and the parts that aren't. So I'm going to break down exactly how this works using this brick texture as an example. Now on its own, it looks pretty good. This is a 2K resolution texture, so it definitely already has a good amount of detail on it. But the thing is, if we move the camera around, you can tell pretty easily that it is just completely flat. But our brain subconsciously knows that the way the light reflects off of this texture is not how it's supposed to look. So that's where this thing called a normal map comes in. Now I'm sure this looks really crazy if you've never seen it before, because of all these bright colors, but the thing is that the colors are just a visual representation. Like, if we just grab one of the colors, we can see that there's a red, green, and blue value. That of course is very easily interpretable as a color, but ultimately these 3 values are just data. So rather than thinking this picture is something to be looked at, it's really just a big set of data to be interpreted by the game engine. And what this data actually represents is angles. If we zoom in, you'll notice that stuff pointing up and to the left is green, and stuff that's pointing down to the right is red. So you'll see when I add this normal map to the material we've been using, at first it doesn't really look like anything's changed. But if I adjust the angle of our light source, there's suddenly a pretty big difference. The way that the highlights appear and the way that the shadows appear give a much stronger illusion of 3D. By reading the normal map, the 3D engine is able to apply the light unevenly, which is exactly what should happen for an uneven surface. even though ultimately it's just as flat as it was before. Now alternatively, we could have went in and used the geometry to add depth, and with enough work you'd be able to match the level of detail that you'd want to make the brick texture look realistic. But doing that is extremely computationally expensive. Your computer has to do a whole bunch of math to make sure that all of these points are in the right spot relative to each other, so using the normal map is a much less costly additional step, because the engine is already doing light calculations anyway. And of course that's important for optimization in general, but especially for games like this which are also available on mobile devices which have much less processing power than high-end computers. The cast shadows are really easy to see, which is another advantage of being in this hangar that has a direct overhead light source, but again the edges of them are quite soft. Of course I wouldn't go as far to say the art style overall is realistic, as the large, uniquely shaped eyes and sectioned out hair certainly follow the typical principles for anime stylization, but the direction is quite a bit more grounded than what I'm used to, which I suppose is quite fitting for a game where your characters are basically going to war. In terms of character design, it goes for this high-tech, post-apocalyptic kind of vibe mixed with some military elements, which I'd say is pretty unique as far as anime gacha games go. They also clearly put in a lot of effort to make them very conventionally attractive, so that's cool too I guess. For Leva, I quite like the use of hexagons to give off a cyborg vibe, and the electricity coming out of her robot arm is actually quite cool. Lenna I think is pretty funny because she has a whole virtual reality headset on, and they gave her the cat mouth which is pretty cute. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention some dolls also have unique zoom in animations where a lot of the times they reach out at you, which is quite silly. And of course I can't forget about the weapons you equip your characters with, because they also have an impressive amount of detail to them. You can customize all the attachments, as well as the skins to change the appearance of everything. The two new characters have signature weapons based on the UMP, shout out my Counter-Strike players. But yeah, the detail is certainly there, and they even have this acrylic stand on a spring cosmetic with actual physics, which is just fun to see. The game also has plenty of alternate outfits for the characters that can be obtained in various ways. Leva's does a pretty good job of showing how different types of cloth materials are represented in 3D. The scarf is partially transparent, which indicates that the material is quite thin, regardless of how thick the actual model for it is. The dress itself is easily identifiable as being made out of a satin material or something similar due to how reflective it is in the light. If we go back to her normal outfit, you can see her leather jacket is slightly less reflective, and then the rest of her clothes aren't nearly as shiny. I don't have any technical comments when it comes to Lenna's alternate outfit, but I do think it's quite neat that it looks to be inspired by Japanese idol stage outfits, and I also quite like this little duck they decided to put in the front. There are a couple other new premium outfits in the anniversary update as well. There's this one for Andorus, which I think speaks for itself. It also has customization options available from the outfit gacha, so although I personally have no complaints about the base version, having more personalization options is pretty cool, and something that's rare to see from skins in gacha games. All three of these outfits will be discounted until December 17th if you are interested in getting them. Klukai's new skin is only available through the gacha, but it does unlock more content than your typical outfit, as in addition to the new interactive story, you can use it for your own avatar in the crew deck. And this one has additional customization options as well. There are also a number of outfits you can acquire for free, like this barista one for Springfield, which unlocks by advancing your collection progress, but one that I quite like is this one that was just released for Chuhua. Normally she wears her jacket around her waist, and it's fairly common with character design to do stuff like this to make the character's silhouette more unique, so it's cool to see how she looks with it actually on. Of course, making this outfit wouldn't have been close to the amount of effort required to make an original one, but since you can get it for completely free, it just makes for more options available to the player. You might have seen this feature without knowing it was from this game, because it really is kind of a crazy thing to have. You can visit the dormitories of your characters, where you can observe them doing random things, and also if you're so inclined, look at their extremely detailed feet. It's a feature that's certainly not for everyone, but I know that for some people, this might be a big draw. And if that is you, well, you'll probably be excited to hear that this type of content is being expanded on even further with the new crew deck feature. This system allows you to develop a hangout space for your characters, which unlocks with more furniture and features as you progress. Oh, it's nice that they give me a directory because I might get lost. Here you can see some people, though most people are hanging out in this big main lobby area where they also make food or make drinks. There are some interactive elements too, like this where it takes you straight to the event screen. Customizable memory wall. Even though there are only a limited number of spaces, it kind of cycles through them, which is cool. Here you got a display case, outfit gacha, nice little swimming pool area, lounge room, then another little area up above it. There is quite a lot of room for player customization, as you can assign dolls to different areas as you see fit, and decorate individual sections like the trophy case and memory board. One of the activities you can do here is set a sleep timer that gives you ASMR ambient noise and voiceover. That's certainly not something I expected to ever say, but the technology is here. Now for the most interesting part, there are new interactive cutscenes where you can play out scenarios with multiple decision trees. Yeah, this is crazy. Hey, but the shadows over her bangs, they look pretty good. Oh, okay, she just grabbed my face, that's cool. Yeah, we'll give her some nice wholesome head pats. Oh, so there's different scenes for each like segment. Okay, this one's fairly tame. Next one probably won't be. Where did she get that from? Where did we get that from? And we're dead. That was certainly one of the experiences of all time. So I was advised to watch through all the endings, but am I even allowed to put this on YouTube? Macchiato's experience is freely available after claiming via the in-game mail, and although Klukai's interaction story requires her new outfit to be acquired first, you're able to get 35 free outfit pulls to put towards that, where you'll likely unlock some bonus customization options for said outfit on the way. The fact that they are willing to show the models so up close like this is a pretty clear indicator that the devs are quite confident in how good they look. The animations for the motions also come off as quite natural, which also makes sense given that otherwise it would mess up the whole immersion thing they're going for. If this game looks interesting to you, you can download Girls Frontline 2 from the download link in the description and pinned comment. Like I said before, now is probably the best time to get into the game if you've been meaning to, as there are tons of pulls for you to earn quickly and lots of new content available, like the limited time Speed Blitz minigame. One unique upcoming event they're holding is a server-wide challenge where players will be able to contribute votes towards the characters they would most like to see receive a new outfit. It's pretty rare for community involvement efforts to be put directly into the game itself, so I think this is a really fun thing to do. Thanks again to Girls Frontline 2 Exilium for sponsoring this video, and thank you for watching.